Good afternoon and welcome to this month's webinar titled Meeting the Personalization Mandate. My name is Brett Kierstead. I'm Vice President of Sales for Knowledge Marketing, and I'm excited to have the group on the phone today in our continuing series of new and unique ideas aimed at helping publishing and media companies have creative ways of selling more and making more money and engaging with their audience. We are on GoToMeeting, as you know, so if you have questions along the way, please submit them through the GoToMeeting box, and we will try to get to them before the end of the presentation. Also, just timed it out. We might run about 5 minutes over, so please bear with me, but hopefully it'll be worth your time. So just a little bit about knowledge marketing, quick background. For those of you who are new, we provide services to these wonderful customers that are focused on new and innovative ways of monetizing audience and finding more and more unique ways to grow their own businesses within media and publishing. We offer a data management platform, a technology aimed at helping you organize data, communicate, and measure the performance of the various different ways you create and distribute content across the various channels that you do. But since today is about personalization, I do want to provide a personal welcome to those of you on the phone. Tanya, thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Allison, glad you're here. Roy, thanks so much. Jamie, you know, it's good to have you here. The other Jamie, it's good to have you here. The other Jamie, the third Jamie, the 4 Chris's on the phone. And really, since this is about personalization, this is really just for you. So thank you, all of you, for attending individually for this very personalized presentation. So today's agenda, we're going to talk and keep this theme going in 4 areas. We're going to talk about some considerations for you to think about. Why do we consider it a mandate? The role that data plays specifically in meeting this personalization concept, and then I'm going to give you some specific examples. I want to provide you guys some thoughts to consider. In my research in this and our experience over the last few years, we know that this subject is very common and very popular. But I wonder if we all really understand it or whether we've bought into the hype. So I don't have answers for everything I'm going to talk to you about now, but I hope you guys will think a little bit about some of these considerations. First of all, when we talk about personalization, especially in the industry that we're in, we're really talking about the relationship between content and the individual recipient of that content. All right, so you guys create content, whether it's all the various different channels, various different messages and products, and you're thinking about delivering that to an individual. Now, when I first jumped into the business world in 1990, and those of you on the phone might be about the same, interestingly, if you think of it this way, personalization was really the way things were. You used handwritten notes. I was in sales and a typewriter, and personalized was low cost. But if we wanted to do mass marketing, it was expensive. We had to print things and mail them, or there was bigger costs. So it was cheaper to personalize than it was to mass market. But if you fast forward to today, interestingly, it's reversed. Right? It's reversed in that we think of these tools as mass marketing is cheaper and personalization is more expensive. Okay, so that paradigm flip now even has us thinking of things like mass personalization, which is hilarious, is coming. Are we ready for it? Okay, so we've got these interesting conundrums and these interesting issues around the role of communications and cost of how personalization versus mass marketing have kind of changed and are coming together. So let's think of the considerations of personalization, right? When you think about your content and the person that's the recipient of it, you've got to think about a lot of things. Number 1, who is the recipient? Number 2, what kinds of topics are they interested in? In today's world, you also have to think about the device they're reading it on, or the venue. The style, you know, what kind of communication style do you want to have to that person? Is there an offer associated with it? Is this a B2C communication or personalization, or is it a B2B? What is the reader's consent? You know, have they consented to receive this content in the personalized manner? Are there privacy considerations? What is the desired action that you have? And what is the opportunity size? You know, the concept of personalization sounds good, and it's like, oh, I want to send something to somebody. But when you really think about doing it most effectively, there's lots of things that you need to think through. Okay, so let's talk about a few of those considerations. Here's a good little image to think about just words-wise. So if you think about generalized communication, right, we're sending to maybe a broader audience. Then you have a specialized communication, which might be a subset of that. And then personalized is a person, an individual that we can get ourselves to. A good example might be generalized, especially in B2B, you know, an area where we tend to focus on groups of people. You know, maybe we have farmers. Farmers are a generalized audience. It's somewhat personalized in the sense that they have an affiliation, but yet it is a general group. So we might get down and be more specialized. We might say, well, instead of that, let's get down to the pig farmers, right? So we know we're specializing in an area, but yet we're still talking about groups of people. And personalized would be Joe the pig farmer from Iowa, right? He's the guy or the person that we're going after that is very personalized within these two other audiences. So again, when you think about these different groups, remember what we're talking about when we talk about personalization. The word person is in it for a reason, okay? Here's another example that we hear, and I always find this fascinating, what everybody thinks of this. I call it Dear Brad or Dear Joe or Dear whoever personalization. So here's an email. It comes to me, and it says, from this person, and it says to me, Brad, it says my direct marketing plans, my 2015 plans. It's got my name on it, so it is personalized in that sense. However, the messaging in here speaks to me as a direct marketer. Well, I'm not a direct marketer per se. I'm VP of sales. I mean, I have a sales function. Direct marketer is a very specific other function. This is written in a way that talks to me as if that's my role. So is it personalized because it's got my name on it, or is it impersonal and a form letter because of the content doesn't match me? Okay, so we think of this as personalization, but is it or is it not? We have privacy. You know, we all love to mine data, and we all know, you know, those of you who follow the industry on data and analytics and privacy know the Target example, you know, where Target was mining a teenage girl's shopping behaviors and her interests and what she was looking, and she was looking up items related to pregnancy. Those of you who know the story know that they were getting communications, sending out offers for diapers and things related to being pregnant to a teenage girl, and the father got upset because he thought it was ridiculous, and only to find out that the girl was pregnant. And so the interesting scenario is that is a personalization strategy, but did it infringe upon privacy? So we have to always be cognizant. There's not necessarily a right or wrong. There's emerging rules around this today, but it is something you always have to think about. Also, there's the role of consent. You know, consent means, when it comes to receiving your content, that I have allowed myself, or I have offered you or given you the right to send me something personal. And this is, again, continues to be an emerging area. Have I raised my hand and given a willingness to put down personal preferences and saying, I want articles about this or offers about that? I mean, there's a lot of products and services and websites that do that, especially in the consumer world. You know, but then again, what about a tool like Facebook? You know, when I go on Facebook, we all forget that that's free. So Facebook, as part of the consent, did we consent to giving away private information for a personalized experience because we in turn offered something of value, Facebook, to me, free access to the application? You know, Canada has anti-spam legislation. Those of you in Europe or that follow European law know what the right to be forgotten rule is. So this area of consent is an interesting area that's shaping the future of personalization. The greater consent that you give somebody, you know, the greater exchange of information, in theory, the greater right you have to be personalized and use that personal information. You know, I laugh at this one. Match.com, right? Here's an evolution of personal. So it used to be, I guess you just found relationships, and then they figured, you know what, let's find this site. Let's create something called Match.com. It'll be highly personal. You can pick all the attributes that you want in an individual to match you up. So personal, you can exchange 27 pieces of information. That sounds like the most personalized way to find a relationship. But lo and behold, I kind of laugh because personalized is a website like Farmers Only. I don't want to be on a generic. Now Match.com is too generic for me. It's not personal enough. I want to get even more personal. I want to start with people that I know are already farmers and then go into it. So it's kind of a funny thing when you start thinking about how much more segmented and how much more targeted personalization can continue to get, all the way down to that, conceptual segment of one. Another concept for you guys to think about, and I always, this is a good rule of thumb, and I think it varies by industry, is if personalization, the requirement of personalization grows in relation to the importance of the transaction. So if the interaction is going to be very, very strategic to the business, or a significant amount of revenue for the company, or a very profitable piece of business, if that's the transaction, that's the communication or the distribution of the content, then the personalization has to go significantly higher in relation to the importance of the transaction. Think of it this way. Like if you're selling something for 5 cents to 10 million people, your goal there is as many clicks as possible. But if you're selling Boeing Airlines and you sell jets to like 3 people, that presentation has to come across in a very highly personalized way. And that's a very simple visual example of the concept that we should think about even in our own day-to-day marketing within publishing and media. Are we appropriately personalizing the message and the channel in relation to the importance or value of the transaction to the business? So let's take all that together and come up with a definition, because I think this is really something we need to come to a consensus on, or an agreement. And this is a lot of words, but I want you to think through this for just a second, because again, personalization is such a buzzword. But let's think, is it reality? I mean, are you really going to spend? So we have some people on this phone that have 1 million people in their database. You can't possibly send to a million different messages. But if you think about the definition of personalization, it really is based on a person. So we have to find a better working definition, something that's more logical for our industry to understand this concept. And so here's what I think. So personalization could be defined as using all available individual profile data to create a unique user content experience for as small of a group of appropriate like individuals as commercially reasonable. Okay, so if you unpack that and you think about it, you create content, and it's not logical to send it to one person, but it's also not effective to send it to your entire audience. So somewhere up in between one and all is this appropriateness, commercially reasonable way for you to send out your content and target it to a group of individuals. So how about we do it this way? Instead of thinking of it solely as personalization, meaning really one person, we can think of it as people-ization. So there's a group of people, but those groups of people have demonstrated through various different things a similarity to each other that we believe is effective if we send them comparable information or similar information. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but think of it as a mindset. And there's a lot of stuff going on out there. There's things like you hear words, customization and retargeting and marketing automation and responsive design, recommendation engines, predictive analytics, dynamic content. All of these different things that you hear, that you kind of consume in the different things you read and hear, are aimed at this idea of personalization of content, or personalization of an offer, or in my word, people-ization, looking at similarities of people that perform or have interest in a certain way and presenting them with something that we think is going to be more relevant to them. Okay, and if you don't think that people are like, this is a marketing vendor technology landscape. So if you don't think people are spending a lot of money and are hardcore serious about this, like these are all categories related to marketing technology, much of which are predicated on the idea of creating a very personalized end user experience. And we as publishers and media companies, I will assure you, have an incredibly unique opportunity to succeed here if you can get out of your kind of legacy mindset and start thinking about things a little bit differently and deploying the right kind of technologies and strategies. I love this cartoon that was sent. I crossed my desk. This one made me laugh, but it's a great example of this. There's a banner ad that says, or an ad that says, newly married circus clown with a motorcycle. This snack's for you. And then, of course, oddly driving by is the same thing. And so, this idea of, do we have the ability to get as close as we can to the most personalized, relevant information, but with the realization that we can't run this kind of an ad, but yet we want to achieve this kind of result? Okay, so let's talk about the second piece of this, which is the word mandate. So what exactly does it mean as a mandate, meaning it's required? Why are we saying it's required? And who's saying it? So let's start with who. When you think about mandate, so there you are. You have a community, you have readers, you have subscribers, you have attendees, you have visitors, and you have all these people that are relying on you for content. And then on the upstream, if you're in sales or you're thinking about it as a publisher side, you have clients and prospects that buy, they're media buyers and agencies. But you also have critics, bloggers, marketers, associations, competitors. You win awards, people judge your website, people judge your content. They're creating words about whether you know what you're doing or not as a marketer. And then, of course, you have management. So this group of people are mandating a different way of presenting content in a more personalized way. The second mandate is, as we know, this kind of passing around right now about the goldfish analogy, that people's attention span with content is that less than a goldfish, right? So in that narrow window of time, that very small period of time where you've captured someone's eyes, are you presenting that something that's really relevant to them? And the going belief is that the more personalized it is, obviously, the more it resonates with me, the more likely you are to capture my attention. So this requirement is making it a mandate for us to make sure that we're presenting people with very relevant content. On the plus side, if those are the negative reasons, on the plus side, there's an appetite for it. So here's some statistics from Website Magazine. 67% of people find product recommendations helpful, right? You think about it ourselves, oh, that's a nice recommendation. It's a personalized recommendation for me based on some information. 69% of people appreciate retargeting ads. Oh, I was interested in this, I forgot, I'm still interested. Thank you for retargeting me. That kind of personalized messaging is positive because it reminds people potentially of something that they're interested in. 80% find it helpful if you have a promotional email and it has products that are relevant or offers based on habits and preferences. So again, people want things on the plus side that are relevant to them. And it works. I mean, if you look at the statistics, and a lot of us know this intuitively, and I have an example later, that when you use personalization or the techniques around providing people-ization, if you want to think of it that way, of targeting in on specific interests, you get better performance. It's interesting that, you get higher open rates, or even if it's promotional, if there's a triggered event, meaning, if you click this, then something happens. Promotional being targeting for maybe a third party or internal offer, you tend to get better performance when you're using personalization techniques. And the opportunity, however, exists. This is a study, again, from Website Magazine. 98% of people they surveyed believe that personalization is the key to future success. However, only 4% of marketers describe their website as very personalized. So we kind of intuitively know that we want things, our content distributed, and we want to consume things that are very relevant to us, but yet a lot of people are still unsure on whether they're there or even definitively thinking that they're not where they need to be. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about how to get there. First of all, you need data. Again, the premise of personalization and targeting based on a person's interests and behaviors and all that is the predicated on data. And why I keep trying until I blue in the face to tell publishers this, you guys have the most unique asset that's out there. It's the legacy organizations in this that have rebranded and recreated themselves as kind of new media companies have such an incredible asset. You know, there's so many fly-by-night content providers out there that pop up online and profess to be vertical market experts and understanding of an industry, but they lack so much depth of data. This profile on here of what today's diversified publisher and media company has is an extraordinary asset that is so underutilized. It's almost heartbreaking sometimes. You've got so many different products and channels and so much information, so much user profile data, so much behavioral and contextual information to draw on. It's just so underutilized, but yet such an asset that can be capitalized on for this initiative. And data, again, is captured by you in your demographic data. All that old legacy data that you captured on print qual cards is such a powerful asset if you just use it. Behaviors now, we've got these digital products that show us emails and website visits and event attendance and webinar registrations. And we've got contextual. We're tracking what people read and their topics of interest. You guys have all that data. And the unification and use of that data is the most powerful personalization engine out there. And because, guys, what's happening is if you're not doing it, I'll tell you what your customers are doing. The corporate brands, the manufacturers and the brands that are selling you, they're using their social media data, they're using their website data, they're using some of their own customer data, and they're going out and trying to form their own relationships directly between themselves and your audience. And they'll bypass you if they can establish those relationships if you can't provide incremental value. The asset that you have, the data that you're using is unusable, or if you're not using it, you're wasting an asset, and your clients are accumulating their own information through social, through marketing automation, and their own techniques to make an end run. So I hate to I don't strike fear in you, but if you're not using the information that you have, you're really wasting it and opening the door for your clients themselves to go direct to your audience. So let me give you some examples of what I think are good and some kind of clever ways we think about how data and audience data can help in personalization. Let's talk about sales calls, and we'll talk a little bit about website and ads experience, email engagement with your clients, and maybe events. So all of you are most likely diversified publishers. You know, you've got different products and different brands, different channels. Maybe you're personally in a marketing function, or maybe you're a publisher or a salesperson, or maybe you're in audience development, or you're the event marketer. I mean, every one of you has an opportunity to bring data and personalization together into how you conduct your job. So we'll start with sales calls. You know, this is an area, I showed this last month, and I'll repeat just as a primer. You know, selling in today's world, especially media sales too, you know, is really about personalization. Can you bring to your potential client, whether they're an agency or whether they're a corporate buyer or whoever, can you bring them something that's personal? You know, I use the Wall Street example of, you know, Gordon Gekko says, "Come on, pal, tell me something I didn't know. It's my birthday. Surprise me," right? Tell me something that is unique. It's personal. No one else knows it. It's unique and special to me, right? That's the expectation. But here's what we do a lot. Instead, we do this impersonal sale. You know, we're proud of our media kit. We're guns blaring. We've got our product catalog and our BPA statements and our media kit. And we're going to slam into some very qualified buyer who's given us an opportunity to present. And instead of coming in with something unique, we come in with something that's very publicly available. And I had this conversation. I think Len's probably on the phone today because he's a loyal listener of our webinar series. And we talked a little bit about what he's doing at North Star. So North Star Travel Media, Len manages the audience database there, their audience insight product, and really is trying to unite the business, the functions of sales and marketing and audience through this partner of data. So what information can be provided in order to help within our audience behavior to improve the way that sales performs. And one of the things that we always experience a lot of in B2B is, especially that because your content is very related to an industry, very often your salesperson, the salesperson is calling on someone the buyer who's already in your database. Most likely, many buyers, let's say in this case in the travel industry, the head of Marriott's global buying, they're probably subscribed to a few of your newsletters. They're probably subscribed to some of your other products. Maybe they've been participate in some of your events, and there's a ton of information in there that used to help. So what Len does, and others like him, partner with this data, this information, to do research about the company or the individual and compare that information across their database to say, hey, this person might already be in there. And maybe she's already active. Maybe she's already clicking on some information. Maybe she's subscribed to several of our products, reading our newsletters, visiting our website, you know, and we can look at that and say, gosh, in addition to her, we've got people a lot like her, a lot similar titles and similar profiles and similar information with similar interests. And when you sit down with your salesperson, you share that data, and they're prepping for a very personal meeting, this kind of marriage of your audience data with your sales strategy creates a very powerful and unique message. Again, we talked a lot about it's not just big data that matters, it's those little pieces of data that combined with a little bit of innovation and a little bit of personalization on the sales side can come up with a very unique message. So again, there's a good example of someone, Len, for example, that takes the time out to work with sales to take data and create a very personalized result for sales. Thanks, Len. So website, let's talk about website. You know, the website, if you think about it technically, is usually the content management system. So you have a system and it has data and it has a framework for it, delivering content out to an individual. Okay, we've talked a lot about the relationship between content and the individual. But here's an example of something I experienced the other day, and I'm going to ask you if you think this is good personalization. So I was online before looking up flights and travel, okay? So I was looking in Vegas, I was looking in Florida, I want to get the heck out of here, I live in Minnesota, it's freezing. And then right before, I also booked a flight to Chicago for a business trip, okay? So I'm on a few different sites. I'm on Delta's website, I'm on a couple of other sites, I'm looking at hotels, like at Marriott hotels. I'm doing all this. Then I go over and I go on a website to read an article. Okay, so here's an article, Real Clear Politics is the website. I go to read this article, and this is what gets presented to me as a page. So as you can guess, because many of you do this too, if you can't sell the ads yourselves, you use a third party, maybe Ad Choices or something like that, to pop in content from an ad server, potentially that looks at my cookie of my past website experience or recent experience and plays ads. So I'll ask you, since you're all content people, if you think this is an awesome article to read and a great user experience. Now, is this web page personalized to me? Of course it is, because it's asking me if I want to upgrade to my flight. That's kind of cool. It's asking me if I want to go to Jacksonville, which I sure as heck do right now, and I need a hotel. So is this website personalization perfect or bad? Right? We would say it's personalized, but did it really have the effect? So again, I think we really have to say it's more than just presenting me with the most recent website that I was on, because it has nothing to do in the context of this article, and frankly, it makes it look like crap. That is not a good reader experience for me, but yet it's highly personalized. A better way to do it is to kind of think closer of the relationship, again, between technology and me personally, a bigger profile than just the last 3 websites I visited. And technology allows today different tools, different CMS, content management systems, facilitate a more close relationship between that content management system and the data. So here's this guy. Again, we talked about what we know about him, what he's read, what he's interested in, topics of interest, and we could say, hey, this guy's a hardware buyer, he's a big prospect, he's a subscriber, his company has a certain amount of revenue, and recently he's been reading articles about faucets. Okay, so we know that either he's interested in them in some form or fashion, that topic is relevant to him. So when we tie all those together, a website experience, instead of having a bunch of banner ads from Delta Airlines, instead it may present an ad from somebody like Delta Faucets, right? So this guy we know is relevant to the content. He's interested in the content. His profile is relevant to him because the content article and the ad is about him. And we've got a better match, and as we've seen in different examples, as an advertising salesperson, you have the right to command a higher price for that. That higher level match is a higher price. We all know it intuitively, and that's what we expect to see in practice. So again, that's a better personalization experience than the other one, although according to the criteria, they're both personalized. Okay, so watch for those examples on your own sites on whether you're really actually kind of doing personalization but doing it wrong. Okay, so let's talk about email. Here's most of your email strategies. I hate to say it, but I hear this all the time. Our best strategy for email is drop the nuclear bomb, see how many people we can wipe out in our entire user base, because if we send it to 100,000 people, we're pretty much guaranteed to hit the target, right? I mean, I know that's a legacy thinking. A lot of you are trying to get out from under that, but are struggling with it for a lot of different reasons. I mean, really, whether it's behavior, whether it's the buyer only wants to hear large numbers, your salesperson isn't comfortable explaining it, they don't understand personalization, they don't understand why it's worth more money, all of those topics, I get them all. But this is an area that we all know intuitively we've got to break the habit. And the way to do it is to think in a personalization mindset. So looking at your list of people and organizing them in a more targeted manner, you know, the people-ization, grabbing very engaged, targeted groups of people and putting them into very logical buckets. And also then thinking about taking into account some things we talked about before. Not only is this group logical, but are we set up to receive the content in the appropriate design? You know, we hate getting newsletters that don't render appropriately or promotional materials that don't render right. We've got to take that into account. We've got to take into account other cool ideas like dynamic content. The tools and templates are available out there for you when you send out emails to take blocks within your newsletters and personalize them based on a person's profile. And again, we might have 500 people that get that similar offer based on it. But again, that's people-ization. We're still following our personalization concepts, but we're just doing it across a group of people. And so again, we said some statistics before that work. I used this example before, and I'll reiterate it because I think it's a good one. You know, a salesperson didn't understand what personalization meant, and the folks at LeBar, one of our clients, did a very targeted multi-part campaign using topic lists of interest and sending it out to a very segmented list, and looked at the performance statistics and saw a 4 times open rate on performance for content that they distributed out that used personalization of topical interests along with demographic data over their generic list. And so this combination of using that data and delivering it in that manner produces the kinds of results that we've seen. You know, the analogy we've used before is the smaller the slice, the higher the price. So it's a really good way of thinking about how personalization yields results. The last example I'll give in the few more minutes I have left is event marketing. Right now, although I love this idea of event marketing, picking an event location based on how sunny it is. I love that right now, but it's not really personalized in the sense of what we're looking at today. So I'll give you another way of looking at it. This is a representative example of how it might be done. Let's take folks like Scranton Gillette, you know, smart guys, some of the best data guys that are out there, and how they might create an event around a common topic, Windows, you know, like emerging issues around window technology in commercial or residential, working through a few of their specific brands. So one thing they might do is they might start with swipe interest. So a lot of the technologies from different badge and event management companies allows you to collect badge swipe data. And that badge swipe data, again, is leaving a footprint of very personalized information of people's interests. There's also other media. There's on your websites, a lot of your folks have websites that have videos, instructional videos, or educational videos about related topics. So here's a topic. You know, there might be an episode, a series of people that have visited your website and registered to get certain pieces of other related media topics. There's also apps. You know, here's an iTunes app that allows you for more information with interactive tools around how do you get window information. So again, we're building this various different lists and this various different personalization of an event that we're looking to create based on things that we've found among our audience interests. So, you know, we're kind of building up to this personalized event, this very targeted group based on what other people have done. So we might go in and look at topics across all of our different areas. How many people have clicked on any article about Windows? You know, so there's 7,900 people that have clicked on articles related to specific topics. We might look at geographic concentration. You know, where are those people found? Where in the country or in the world are they located? So we can decide on where we want to create an event, again, personalized and targeted to that group of people that might be isolated in a particular geography. You know, we might then go in and look at other partners and advertisers and associations that we have relationships with. So we might say, you know, how many of the people in that target list are affiliated with a particular association? Again, to create then a custom and personalized message to maybe the 580-something people that are in the NAHB association. Or maybe we want to engage one of our advertising partners like Pella Windows and ask them, say, hey, we've got a group of people that we found that have clicked any article that we've presented, including a Pella URL. We'd like you to participate in this particular event. You know, author affiliations, this is another one depending on the industry you're in. Some of your editors and authors are, you know, I don't say rock stars, but there's affiliation. So, you know, say, hey, you've read this person's articles. You know, Cece and Barbara are topical experts on the subject of Windows and this area, and maybe that's somebody that you want to feature that might want to be a session speaker in an event. So the people-ization, the personalization of this event and your marketing would say, we want people that have similar brand affiliation with a geographic concentration, that have multimedia consumption, that are proven through their topics and their clicks, show engagement, they're interested in certain topics, they identify with an author, they have an association membership that we're familiar with, and they've shown some interest in a particular advertiser. So if you think about on the right, we want to find personal, right, individuals that all look the same, so that people-ization of our offer, the same single representation of a way of presenting or creating our event and messaging and marketing it to a lot of people that all look and act the same. Okay, so again, what we're trying to get you guys to think about is that personalization is a good mindset, but it really is more about people-ization, organizing your audiences into common groups for the purposes of growing in whatever particular area, email engagement, website engagement, advertising, sales, events, etc. And that data is the centerpiece of that, and it can help you unlock that kind of information that you need. And it is a mandate for engagement. More and more of your people are expecting that the content that they get will be personalized to them. And the good news is that the metrics around that spell success. So again, I want to thank everybody. Hopefully this was useful. Also, if you go out to our website, we've got a brand new e-brief coming out tomorrow around audience monetization. It's really a topic that's very popular and very related to this topic of personalization, about how you use data and information to make money. So again, I'm sorry for going a little bit over. I want to thank everybody for attending today. If you're interested in to download a recording of this, you're welcome to do so, and hopefully you'll come out to our website and take a look at some of our additional content. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day. We'll see you guys all again next month, especially you, Tanya, you, Jamie, you, 4 Chris's, and all of the Susans on the call as well. Take care and have a wonderful day. Thanks, everybody.